Hello, I'm Miss Catumesk. We shall be checking out this game between Shambler and Btyb88. 1 second as I mute Ventrilo. There you go. So, it is March 14. It is 4 a.m. My sleep's totally fucked. I haven't actually been following the project too much. I did play a little bit on Fraudarchy, but beyond that, I haven't been doing too much. I've been dealing with the bullshit that is real life, and it is absolute madness. And very, 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 very draining. So there's been some changes to the project I have not kept up with since I last was really regularly following it. As sometimes development travels fast. Popo and Vikan, they have a lot of shit going on too. But it's all productive shit, so they've been bouncing back and forth, with CMBW only being a portion of their workload. There was actually several games between Btyb and Shambler, but the others were on a different version, and I didn't feel like dinking around with that. I think this is a standalone game anyways. I don't know what it entails, but I suppose we shall see. So, Btyb has gone for a kind of an interesting circuit placement here. So there's a lot of changes to the project. The circuit is not in a very defensible location, actually. You can just kind of walk right by it. Circuit does have tier 2, and it's quite decent. Some of the... it actually did kill that worker. Some of the defenses have been beefed up a little bit, just to try to make early a little bit more defensible. But it's not a truly major change. There was a lot of other little changes. I suppose the biggest of all of them is going to be the corpse change, where both the Apostle's Lazarus agent and the Matroleth spawn Broodling, and I think Veek mentioned the Demiurge too. I don't know. Didn't get a chance to try it out. But they interact with bodies now, with corpses on the ground. So the Lazarus agent in particular, oh, and the Anticathon, yeah, they just straight up revive dead bodies now. So the first run, Popo subjected me to that, and it was just unbelievably awful. I just basically had to concede right away. There was nothing I could do against it, and I owned the map. It was just one failed fight gave him like thousands of minerals worth of units and threw him right back in the game, and it was not like you couldn't fight it anymore. So it's definitely one of those things that's going to be volatile. The Lazarus agent was nerfed a little bit since then, but the very way that the whole thing works is it's a tremendous change. It's massive. You normally wouldn't see a project that's this old making such huge fundamental changes. It's not the accepted way to do things, but the accepted way to do things is silly, and it's accepted only because people are lazy and unwilling to take risks. So, I think both players are a little conscious of being dropped here. Shambler went for a very early Matrix, and there was Hydra's hiding back here for a while. There was a short exchange, but the Drakenins calmly walked away, and both players are actually going for fairly early expansions. No real aggression. It is a little bit of a larger map. This is, I believe, a newer map. This was actually the map I played against Popo on, where he used Apostles against me as Protoss, and I did not have too much success in actually killing him before then. So there was this awkward stalemate where I couldn't breach his defense. I just decided to take over the map. It felt pretty secure until madness erupted. That's the story for a lot of these games we've been seeing, is everything seems quite standard until madness erupts out of nowhere. I'm not really too sure what to expect out of this matchup. It's going to be Shambler playing as Protoss. He's been fooling around with him, and it does seem to be a little bit of a slower start. There are some Hydralisks moving down here, but I don't think they'll pose Shambler too much of a threat. There's a very unusual graphic here. I've never seen that before. I don't know what it is. And I actually don't know what they've been doing with the visuals. John A kind of just disappeared out of existence for a while. Maybe he got tired. Or maybe he's been doing other stuff. So that's actually the Legionnaire. The Legionnaires have a poking stick. And you can see the lighting is a little awkward. Oh, the walking is a little awkward too. Yeah. They, if you wanted to mimic the Zealot, the legs have to move a little bit less. Legs could use with some texturing. So it's probably just a prototype asset. I think that the movement speed for Zealots was increased. And very possibly for something else as well. Still not as much as Legionnaires, if that is the case. Yeah, these Hydras are fucked. Not much they can do. Just only a couple of them. The walking animation is kind of funny. They're kind of scooting along, you know. And I can sense I'm about to be interrupted, actually. It's going to be unpleasant. And I think Shambler here doesn't really have kill threats. He's just got a handful of units. Oh, I forgot the music. Let's turn the music on. You know, Starcraft's music is just a series of like third-party synths and shit. Like especially the Zerg and the Protoss. It's just a bunch of pads and stuff they bought off of whoever or stole from whoever, as is often the case with their programming. And yet, the Starcraft soundtrack remains rather timeless. So these Hydras are going to come back from the back, and Shambler actually stands to lose his entire attack force here if he's not careful. And yeah, just absolute massacre. I'm not sure if that was intentional. It might have been intentional. It also could have been an accident. Whatever the case was, it worked out very well for him. If it was intentional, then good on him. Pulled the bait. Shambler a little too aggressive. However, he does have 4 cenotaphs. So we got a lot of pole men with their big poles. And now this is a much larger number of Hydras. This could definitely cause Shambler some headaches. If he's not careful, he's going to lose all of his Wardens before they get a chance to do anything here. Oh. So Btyb wisely not really trying to kite all the way back, just moving a little bit. Still, some of the Hydras not fighting here, getting a little kerfluffled. And then they kind of move in, and now these Hydras don't do anything. So his control not really on point there, not able to capitalize that advantage, and got a little salad tossed by the Legionnaires. So just going straight to Garristing to low tech, no capping, not even bothering to harvest from this ridge at the moment. I do believe that there was discussions about actually having late game gas upgrades of some nature. I like that there's this Drolith here kind of scooting along. You know, for some reason, the Legionnaire reminds me of Battletoads. An absolutely splendid piece of software. The Drolith marches on, nobody's any the wiser. Oh, woo. Shambler getting a little bit ahead of himself. He doesn't have that many units here, and it is Hydras. He should know full well from being on the opposite side of this that Hydras, yeah, it's just not efficient for Protoss to trade with Hydras early on. He's done that against me so many times as Zerg. It's just should be ingrained into him. I mean, Hydras are slightly more expensive now than they were back then, but it doesn't change the fact they're still incredibly lethal. Maybe he's hoping a lot for the Legionnaire's damage to overwhelm them, but honestly, the Legionnaire's damage is not really that high compared to the Hydra's 4 armor penetration. The Hydras are always going to be doing full damage. You need a lot of Legionnaires. You need to be able to get a good surround in and land a lot of that debuff on them, on several units as opposed to just one. That seems to be what's going to happen here as Btyb just kind of walks into the defenses and gets fucked. Just these silly trades back and forth. you kind of get into that mindset where you think, oh, I defeated the enemy's army, I'm ready to attack. But because they don't have to worry about supply upgrades, all this other shit, all that money is generally just going to go back into more units unless they're really spam expanding, which they're kind of like gradually expanding, but it's still just I've built units amidst all the time it takes for this to transpire. And that's kind of where we end up with. So the Zerg appears to be getting some Zero cores, but this expansion is going to go down. It's going to be the first actual significant loss that any of the players have suffered at this moment. Along with all the Hydras on top of it. The Gerolith is biting. BTB trying to make the most of the engagement as he can, but so long as Shambler stays on point, he's going to be able to handle this. The Zero cores, I do believe, have been buffed a little bit since we last saw them, so they might be a little bit more dangerous than they used to be. Their range is a little bit better. They actually seem to have a distinct projectile now, and in fact, they are holding back Shambler. They're a little bit cheaper now, too, is the important thing to remember. I think that their range was increased and they're made a little bit cheaper, so that's a lot of meat. 140 health is a lot of meat, able to force them back and actually defend that base. He lost quite a bit in the process, a lot of units. The Hatrosk is very low, so Shambler is probably just going to look immediately to repressure that. As well as the circuits and workers and stuff like that. So BTB is not in the best of spots, but he's taking 1,000 to Zero cores. Hey, if it worked the first time, maybe it'll work the second. Well, it's a lot of Legionnaires, and they are quite fragile. Well, not really super fragile, but more fragile than you might expect. And yeah, they got really separated too, so that didn't really help. Well, the Zero cores are actually holding their own against the Dracodins and company. Thanks to their sheer number. When you're really outnumbered by them, then you know that you're kind of in trouble here. So Shambler might actually have to think about teching now. Actually, Hero Fence would not be a really bad idea against this too, to slow them down a little bit so you can kite them and get a little bit more damage in before you have the full engage. BTB also has to worry about the matrices. If Shambler is able to build a bunch of matrices and throw a Crucible behind them, then Zerg has quite a bit of problems. You pretty much need tier 2 to really squash those reliably. Shambler moves in for the kill. But it's still not the most threatening force. If he drags him into the Wardens and the 1,000 of Legionnaires, BTB is not paying attention here. Oh no, BTB. Shambler did lose a chunk of those Legionnaires in the process, but came out on top for sure. So there is a base here. It is. Oh, spooky. Maybe BB had a plan for those Hydras that did not quite manifest. Might have been hoping that if his forces were fighting here and pulling back, he could have popped out the Hydras, but obviously it didn't really quite go that way. Oh, these might be. I think they're just A moving, but I thought they might have been rallying. Another Drolith. Oh, Shambler wants it. Oh, it burrows! Did Shambler notice? I think he did, yes. Not gonna get away that time. However, BTB is looking to take that base next. So BTB is already 4-3 bases. That's quite a good spot to be in. Both players are floating an absolutely absurd amount of money. Now, I don't think the tech cost for Zerg was increased. The tech cost for Terran was increased, however. So we will probably see the tier 2 for Zerg in the near future. Shambler, on the other hand, has so much gas, he has real free reign about what he wants to do and where he wants to go. With his current army, if he's choosing to just stick to mass Legionnaires, then maybe some kind of support for those would work out better. Maybe like, you know, Pariahs, Amaranths. I'm really partial to Demiurges just because they have range to them. But also even like Mind Tyrants would be good too, to be fair with you. So we see the prostate stage. And I forget what that builds. Isn't that where the Demiurge and company comes from? I might be thinking of that. I've only managed to build it a few times. I did have a very, very successful pariah rush against Pronago as Terran quite a long time ago. But in this map, when I played this map against him, it was really hard to do anything because this map is actually extremely low on minerals. They're trying to reduce the mineral counts in the maps. And I felt really, really, really constricted because I went for Solarians first. And I just couldn't really do anything. That's why the game ended up the way it did, really. So Btyb88's got another substantial chunk of Hydras here, but it's kind of just more of the same trading going on. And Shambler does not choose to actually follow that. Oh, nice lag spurt. Interesting. Now, Btyb still is not taking tier 2. He invested very, very heavily into Hydras and did not go for tier 2. He could have like half the number of Hydras. He could be getting tier 2 and going straight to Bactylisks. Bactylisks would give him quite a significant event. Another Drolith joins the front. They're always out here helping him out. Meanwhile, Shambler is getting sick of Hydras running around over here and is starting to spam cannons all over. It looks like the Crucible makes its return. Now, the Crucible still counts as a town hall, so you can't build it very close to minerals, making it really, really, really awkward to try to defend with if you're using it just for your resource land. So if Shambler's not careful here, he's going to have the same lack of attention punish him, but he loses some units, not all though. Oh, the Scribe's going to get fucked. Oh, he escaped. Nah, he doesn't. Absolute massacre. Doesn't have too many units at the moment. We actually do see a pariah coming. So those are pretty strong units. They deal AoE. Oh, there's the lag again. Absolutely brilliant. No attack notification, he says. The Zero Core is definitely actually lending assistance this time around. Pariah arrives. Not the most ideal of targets, and it's going to die as it's quite alone. But Shambler had a whole bunch of other units that were just somewhere over there. By that expansion, I believe. Btyb is not trying to fight these Draconians. It's a fight he could win. He's taking a little bit of damage from them. These reinforcements do kill them off. But he lost a chunk of his army in the process here. Kind of unfocused. Oh, now they're coming. And the Nexus does go down. Shambler's in not too bad of a spot now that he has this base up on operational. If he can just hold out for a while, he might be okay. But you see the Sycophants. I don't remember what they do at all. I tried to use them against Terran. It was highly ineffective. They're not really that tanky for how late in the tech they are. He's also just getting... and he's dead. Brilliant. And a Charlatan has arrived. Now, I believe Charlatans spawn hallucinations. The AI is mostly what I've run into when they have like 1,000 of them and there's hallucinations everywhere and it's just an absolute mess. Never seen them in player versus player, so this could be interesting. Hallucinating. Yep. There's a million of them. So I believe that the hallucinations actually do damage, but they die in one hit. So they have the potential to do a lot of burst. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Guy gets away! Btyb, what? What a sassy individual. Where did you learn to do shit like that? Who taught you such bad manners? It was me, wasn't it? I've been a bad influence on this young man. No capping of geysers. There is tier 2, however. It's kind of in a strange spot. I guess he just kind of just wanted to grab it. And that was it. Yeah, he only had the one Charlatan, so it wasn't the most effective thing in the world, but if they do damage, I absolutely can see how it'd be useful. Shambler's getting a little kerfluffled here. The Hydras are also getting kerfluffled. Where are they going, you wonder? Where? This is an unusual dance here. Shambler's got so much money. And Btyb has so much money. But Btyb also has a lot of Azura cores. Down goes Shambler's money. So there we are with the Crucible and the Matrixes. Good old classic. However, it takes those a long time to build. It doesn't have that many, and I'm not sure how well they're going to do against the... Oh, this does not have that many Matrixes. This base is actually going to die. I think the base will do quite a bit of damage, but not enough against such a fat front line. He needed a little more in the Matrix department. So the Charlatan is, this is a very, very hopeless fight for him. He needed to hide back here behind his wall of multi-attacking lasers. There you go. Now, apparently the Matrix had a bug before where it was dealing double damage to the primary target, but that got fixed. And then their base damage was increased ever so slightly or something. Actually, I don't know if that change is even gone through in this. I think that's what was told me. I think if you had more charlatans also dancing. So Btyb is tier 2. He's got lots of Hydras running into here about to die miserable deaths. Yeah, he doesn't have too much of an army. Only now are the Dragoons coming back down. Oh, the scribe died miserably. And at that point, Shambler concedes. So, fairly simple game. I think what really did Shambler in was trading Dracodons for Hydras. Again, he should know well from his experiences against me that Hydras will pretty much always win. And you will always be fighting an increasingly large number of Hydras with comparatively few Dracodons. Unless you can abuse like ramps or something like that, you're probably just never going to win. And now that Azura cores are actually capable of fighting Protoss, well, that just makes that matchup even less viable. I think Pariahs were fine. I couldn't say too much about the Charlatans because I haven't really used them. But there was just not enough of them. It was like one at a time, two at a time, and then a handful of Dracodons. And some really bad fight placement. Just the trading back and forth never really seemed to go too well for Shambler after that first ambush. And being a little too willing to go for those trades and the small attacks. Bleeding his ability to fight even more, making it even harder for him to keep up. And he kind of wanted to deny the Zerg expansions, but he needed better tools to do so, really. Maybe like switching out of Dracodons, just like going straight for a Cantors or something like that. Btyb was showing a lot of weakness with the unit control. I think a Cantors would have just made an absolute mess of him. I don't think he would have been able to deal with those, especially behind the Matrixes and the Crucibles. That kind of defense would be very, very hard for Hydras to break. It would have forced him to actually use tier 2 tech. But Shambler tried to make the Dracodon Legionnaire work, and there was some good moments for it, but the really bad fights just set him behind far too much. At the end of the day, the resources gathered were really, really, really close. So that even the units killed was still quite close, and the units lost were close, you know. It really just came down to the positioning of those fights and, you know, not really trying to push the tech when he did have the money for it. I mean, he did eventually go for Pariahs at all, but I feel like Pariahs are strongest earlier in the game. Like, you rush to them, right? And then you can take advantage of the AoE. Otherwise, when they're on their own, when they run up to like 20 Hydras, they're just going to explode instantly. Kind of anything will really explode instantly. So not having to engage the Hydras not running up. I think he was going for either Archons or Obtectons going through the archives there, but it was obviously a little too late, right?